This is a really special episode, not just because it is me sharing the birth story of my daughter who was born on March 24th, but because I was busting my butt over the past couple of months to pre-record so many of these episodes that I have coming up for you. And I hope you guys have been enjoying them so far. I have had such incredible guests on here. I've really been pouring into these topics in hopes that they can inspire you, in hopes that they, bring joy to you, that they educate you, they motivate you, they lead you in the right direction, whatever it may be. So the thing is that a lot of my episodes, because I knew I was going to be on maternity leave, were recorded ahead of time. All the interviews were done ahead of time. So that way I could truly just disconnect once the baby got here and just be present where my feet are. But I knew that this episode, I had this one blocked off for a while because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know, what the story was going to be, obviously, until I went through it. And I thought it was going to be a really awesome podcast topic for everyone that is currently a mom, that is trying to be a mom, that maybe dealt with some fertility issues like we dealt with, our new moms, all of the things. And I just kind of wanted to share, what I personally went through, what we went through as a family in the past couple of weeks, and hopes that we can kind of just share this new chapter of our lives as I lead you into this next section. Because at the end of the day, once you have this baby, like your life is never the same. And I'm going to apologize in advance if I get emotional as I'm recording this, because my hormones are still insane and anything can set me off at this point. So I want to just be, very upfront with you guys that this is just even reliving it and talking about it gets me emotional. And it's not because I'm sad or depressed. It's honestly because I just can't get over that this is my current life, that I'm staring at this miracle that God has given me, a miracle I never thought I'd be able to have. And I know that for some of you, you might just be tuning in for the very first time. You might have never heard of any of my episodes before. But if you go all the way back to episode 3, I talk about my husband and I's fertility struggle and how we went through 17 months of infertility and no answers. And we actually had to conceive by IUI. And if you guys haven't had a chance to listen to that episode and you kind of want to hear where our journey started, that's where it started. It started with us, trying really hard to start a family for a year and a half to go to a fertility clinic and find out that our chances were about 2 to 5%. And our world just kind of being shattered and being like, oh my God, what if we never were able to have kids, And we went through all of the struggle of the ups and downs and negative pregnancy tests and me falling into depression and my anxiety soaring and my husband not knowing how to help me, him having to deal with his own emotions while trying to keep help me keep my shit together essentially, and all the things just that go along with fertility. Everybody telling you that, you just need to stop stressing out. And, I could go into it forever, but if you haven't had a chance to listen to episode 3, I highly recommend that you go back there when I share my entire story of how we got here. Because I'm just sitting here and that feels like 37 years ago, but really it was just, 9 months ago as I'm sitting here. And I'm mind blown. I'm blown away at how much my life has changed in the past year, and how if we never had the courage to pursue alternative ways of bringing a baby into this world, that I wouldn't be staring at the most perfect miracle that I've ever freaking seen. And I'm so freaking grateful. So with that being said, for those of you that are new here, I am Kelsey and I am 1 in 8. I'm 1 in 8 that dealt with fertility struggles. And we did our IUI back in July of 2019. And the first one that we did was actually in June and it failed. And you'll hear that in the episode 3, like I talked about. The one that took was in July. It was July 8th. And we went in there and we had zero expectations. We didn't know what to expect, and then 2 weeks after that, we got our positive pregnancy test and our entire world just went upside down and changed for the best, in the best ways possible. Once I got that positive, I never once thought something bad was going to happen. I never had any doubts or insecurities. Like, I knew that God blessed us with this baby, and I knew she was placed. Oh, excuse me. See, I told you. I knew she was placed into our lives, and she was given to us because we were supposed to be the two people to raise her. And I don't know why our first one failed. All I know is that we got everything we wanted and so much more. And all of that pain that we went through, I remember it. I still feel it. I understand it. But I would go through it all again just to get to this position where I'm staring at the result of my persistence, and it's crazy. So with that being said, these last 9 months have been unbelievable. I got really lucky. I had an awesome pregnancy, and I really didn't have many issues in my pregnancy until I got to about week 22. And that's when I just started getting a little bit of pelvic pain. And it kind of felt like I pulled my groin. But if that was literally the only thing that I kind of had to deal with, and then third trimester, I started dealing with the indigestion, the heartburn. My baby was measuring big the entire time, and she was always sitting on the left side of my body, so my left hip was hurting. But for me, I stayed active. I worked out until the day before we went in, and it was just like I did it my best to make sure that my body stayed active the entire time. It was about week 30, I think it was about week 30 or week 32, where we went into the doctor and found out that she was breech. And that's kind of when we had to start thinking about our birth plan and kind of restructuring it, because at this point, my mom actually had a C-section with all three of us, me and my two sisters, and then my youngest sister, she had my nephew in May of last year, and she also ended up having a C-section. So I was, persistent in the fact that I wanted to do this naturally. I wanted to make sure that I wanted to try my best to, deliver the way that I wanted to deliver, just the normal way. And we went in at 30 weeks. We found out that she was breech, and they told us we still had plenty of time for her to turn. And as time went on, we did multiple growth scans and found out that she was measuring quite big, and the chances of her moving and flipping were slowly going down because she essentially was running out of room. And so I had to start kind of mentally preparing myself for a C-section. And I had nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that because I watched my sister go through it. I watched her recovery. She did amazing. I already kind of knew what to expect from it. And it wasn't, I didn't feel defeated or by any means. I just wanted to get my daughter here, the way that she needed to get here. And she got stuck up head at the top, and her butt was down in my pelvis, and she was a big girl, which is why, they ended up just saying like, she's not flipping. And even going into the C-section the day of, which when I get into in a second, they did an ultrasound right before the procedure, and she was still sitting in the exact same spot. She did not move. So, with that being said, it kind of turned my world upside down a little bit. I had to mentally prepare myself for that. I also had to mentally prepare myself to have a pretty big baby. And, Zach and I had to go through the motions of, okay, like let's do this. And so with that being said, like, our doctors told us that we would need to schedule our C-section for 39 weeks because they didn't want me to go into labor on my own. So we went in. We went in for our pre-op and stuff on Monday the 23rd, March 23rd, and found out all the details. I had, what's crazy, guys? I didn't have any nerves at all. I wasn't scared. There was no part of me that felt nervous about this. I was so freaking ready to bring this baby into the world. I was so ready to meet her. I was so ready to see what she was going to look like. I was so ready, to see my husband as a dad, that there was no nerves at all. And then obviously you guys all know, as we're sitting in this and this is airing, that in the midst of all this happening is when the coronavirus stuff started, and finding out that, not only am I not able to deliver the way that I planned on it, but now we got to a point where our hospitals wouldn't allow anybody but your support in. So, I had this dream of, our families being there and being able to meet my daughter the day she was born and hold her. And, just to see the looks on their faces whenever, she came into this world. And that was out of the question for us. We found out that they would not be allowed in the hospital, that heck, they might not even be able to travel down and see us because of stay-at-home orders. And we just had to kind of readjust and pivot again. So at this point, nothing was going according to plan. Everything that I thought was going to happen wasn't going to happen. And I wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous. I was just mad. I was angry because I had this way that I wanted it to be, and it wasn't going that way. But at the end of the day, I guess my entire pregnancy, including the IUIs, never went according to the plan, right? Like, I never thought I'd be in that position at all by any means. So yeah, the coronavirus was just the icing on the cake to everything else going on. But back to the 23rd, we went in for a pre-op, and I signed my life away. I agreed to the C-section. We went over to the hospital. They got us checked in. We filled in all the paperwork. I got my wristbands. And then that was it. And then we went home that night, and the doctor told me to have a really big meal and enjoy it because I wasn't allowed to eat the next day. And I did that. And then Zach and I went upstairs, and, we enjoyed our last night together, and I was super freaking pregnant and just so ready. And then so Sutton Ann Smith is her name, and she came into the world on March 24th. And that day changed my life forever. Give me a second. The moment I heard those cries, my world was turned upside down. I woke up that morning and I wrote in my gratitude journal. Zach had breakfast, and we loaded up the car with all of our luggage and all of the stuff, and we headed off to the hospital, and we were recording everything. We were taking pictures of everything. We were having so much fun. Like, this was such a big day for us, and we were so excited. We even danced a little bit in the room. Like, went straight up to the maternity ward, and not until after they checked our temperatures to make sure we weren't sick, but we went straight up to the maternity ward, checked into our room, and they immediately had me change into my hospital gown. And it was just crazy, like, walking in there, like, Zach's scrubs were ready, my stuff was ready, we unpacked everything, we just kind of sat there, I changed, and Zach and I took some pictures and just talked and started to kind of take in what was happening. And it was just like this, it was just the craziest feeling in the entire world. We had to be there at 6 a.m. Our procedure was scheduled to be at 8 o'clock. So in the meantime, they put in my IV, which actually got me really sick. So when they put in the IV, I was super nauseous. They had to put a fan on me. They had to put nausea medicine in my IV. I was just so unhappy with the whole IV process. I don't do well with needles, but that it's crazy because, like, that was probably the worst part of everything was getting the IV. But they did that, and then they ended up coming in and then they started doing, like, tests and monitoring the baby's heart rate and making sure I wasn't having contractions for about 20-30 minutes. Everything was fine. Baby was looking great. And they came in and they told us that our C-section got moved back a little bit because there was an emergency one before us. So we had extra time to just kind of sit there and just think about what was about to happen. But then the nurse came in, she had Zach change, and, it was just, like, starting to get real. She helped me out of the bed, and we walked over. They didn't roll me. We walked over to the OR, and this is where things kind of got crazy because they had Zach stay outside of the room while they prepped me and did my spinal and got me all numb from the waist down. And so I had to, leave Zach outside of the OR while they brought me back. And the anesthesiologist was waiting for me in there, and I sat down on the edge of the bed thing, the mat, wherever they were going to do this. And she was trying to talk me through everything she was doing, and they did, like, some numbing stuff on my back, and then they did the spinal. And I remember I didn't feel any of it. It honestly didn't hurt. There was nothing about that process that hurt me. It was more so like my nerves started kicking in. So then I started crying. And I'm crying again thinking about it, but I was just nervous because I was by myself, one, and I was trying my hardest to, like, maintain my composure, but I still wasn't scared. It was more so just nerves, nerves were kicking in. Zach wasn't in the room yet, and they were still getting me prepped, and I had no idea what was happening. After they did the spinal, they had me lay down on my back. The room was so bright and so clean, and there was a lot of things going on in there. There was doctors, there was nurses, there was the anesthesiologists. They had me lay on my back, and they're essentially just kind of waiting for me to go numb. And here's the thing, guys, like, it's a very vulnerable situation because your entire robe is pulled up. You don't have any panties on. You're spread eagle for the world to see. It's a very vulnerable thing. And you kind of just are like, oh, here I am. Like, here's my body kind of thing. And it was the weirdest thing when you started getting numb. Like, it started slowly going all the way down from like your waist and down into your toes. It's like a very slow process. And then eventually you just don't feel anything. And it was like the weirdest feeling ever. And she said, we're pinching the heck out of you. Do you feel this? And I was like, nope, not at all. And the moment like that happened, they put the thing right in front, was it like a tarp or something in front of my face so I couldn't see down there. And then finally they brought Zach in. And once Zach got there, I just felt myself like feel a lot better. The nerves went away. I wasn't crying as much. Like, I was just very, I guess, at peace in a way, just like seeing his face. But the moment he got in there, they started. They got started, and it was the weirdest thing ever because Zach was just like, look at me. He was telling me to stay focused on him. Guys, I'm so sorry. I'm just like reliving it. And it has me so freaking emotional to think about this just because, holy shit, like, I brought a baby into this world, Wow. Okay. But anyway, I would edit all this out, but at the same time, it just makes it more real, in my opinion. So I'm just going to leave it. But yeah, so once then I'm like staring at Zach, and Zach's holding my hand, and the doctors were talking about like the most random stuff, like basketball and all this different stuff. And I just remember them like just talking and talking and talking. And it was about 10 minutes, I would say, of me looking at Zach and maintaining our composure, where I just remember the doctor going, there she is. And then like, just like clockwork, they were like talking about how they couldn't find her leg or something like that. And all of a sudden you just hear it, and you just hear this baby start crying. Guys, it's the most incredible sound you will ever hear. The most beautiful sound you will ever hear. Ever, for anyone, but especially when you never thought that was ever going to happen for you. And we didn't get to see her right at the beginning because right when you heard it, she was still back there. But Zach and I looked at each other right when we heard the cries, and I just lost it. I just started crying, and his face just lit up. And then they brought her around the curtain, and she just was wailing, and they just kept going, she is a big girl, and she was, like, she's long. It's just crazy. But I told Zach, I said, go follow her. Zach got up, he left me, and I could see everything that was happening from where I was laying. It's a very hard thing. Like, I could do a whole other podcast on C-sections, and everything that went through with it. But it was just crazy because, like, when you do a vaginal birth, they put the baby right on your chest, and with a C-section that you don't have that happen, which sucks. And, that's why I wanted Zach to be with her. So I told Zach to go, and she was getting cleaned up all over on the waist, like the waist station with the heat lamp and stuff. And he got to cut her umbilical cord and all the things. It was unbelievable, like, just kind of witnessing it from the side, even though I couldn't, do that initial skin to skin that I wanted to do. But just seeing him go through all that, he was recording her. They cleaned her up, they weighed her, and she ended up being 9 pounds, 14 ounces, and 21 inches long. So she was a big baby. They were right. The growth scan was right on point on where she'd be. After they did that, they swaddled her all up, and they brought her over to me and Zach was kind of holding her, and they kind of laid her head on my chest, and I just got to hold her while they, got me all stitched up and finished everything. And then when there was about 5-10 minutes left of everything they needed to do for me, they picked her up and had Zach carry her out into the recovery where I would meet them shortly. And then once they left, I was kind of by myself for the next 5-10 minutes where they finished everything up. They took the curtain down. They had to move me onto my hospital bed from the operating table, and they wheeled me in. And when I went in there, Zach was already feeding her. And we decided to formula feed, which is not my topic today. So I'm not getting into that. Fed is best. But we decided to formula feed. So I went in there and I kind of already got to see Zach feeding her and just snuggling her. And it was the most beautiful thing ever. And then they unwrapped her, brought her over to me and just laid her on my chest, where we just laid there for like 45 minutes. And oh man, guys, when I say it was truly the best moment of my life, it was the best moment of my life. I just couldn't believe that there was this tiny human being, that I prayed so hard for, just laying on my chest, the love of my life, holding my hand and just staring at her, in such admiration and just so much love. It blows me away. I like literally relive it over and over again. And it's just the most incredible feeling ever to just look down and realize the best part of you and the best part of your spouse is just breathing like on your chest, guys. It's just the most incredible thing ever. And like I said, it's even more, there's something like even more special about the fact that it happens whenever you didn't even think it would ever be able to happen for you. So it was incredible. They kept us in recovery until I could like at least move my foot and was starting to get some feeling back in my legs. And then they wheeled us back into our room where we stayed for the next 2 days. And it was just like starting to, really get through basically become a mom while also trying to take care of yourself and recover. And there's so many things that like kind of happened after that no one ever really warned me about. And like I said, I could do a whole other podcast on C-sections and postpartum and, all the obstacles that you go through. And I think that I will, just because I never realized that there was so much to the 4th trimester that nobody talked to me about. Like, I knew that your life changed. I knew that you didn't get sleep. I knew that you were feeding the baby every 2 to 3 hours. I knew all that stuff. I knew that your life was about to get rocked. But what I didn't know is just how tough the healing process is. How you cry every 2 seconds, just like I am right now. I still have, I'm still going through it, where your hormones are just crazy and you have such overwhelming love for this tiny human being that everything is just out of sorts. Like, nobody told me, how hard it was going to be to walk for the very first time after a C-section, and how 2 nurses are going to have to hold you up and essentially walk right next to you and make sure that you do it. Like, you don't have an option. Like, you just got to do it. You got to walk to the bathroom and you got to find a way to pee after they take your catheter out. And like, it takes almost, 6-7 hours to pee once they take the catheter out, Nobody told me about the really awesome underwear that I'd be having to wear and how thick the pads would be. And nobody even told me that I would be bleeding. Like, sorry if it's TMI, but nobody told me that I would be bleeding, like, after a C-section vaginally, right? Like, I thought that was just for a vaginal birth. Like, maybe I'm just ignorant to that, but it's a lot. It's a lot. Like, you have to shower, you have to take your bandages off, and all the meanwhile, like, you're lost essentially a majority of your core strength because you just had your abs sliced open, and you have to get up out of bed every 3 hours to get your baby and to feed her. And it's just, oh my gosh, guys, I could do a whole series on postpartum recovery and what women need coming out of it. Because just like you have to take care of this new little one, you have to take care of yourself. But like I said, I'll do that in a different episode. But that's kind of what the next 48 hours consisted of. It was just, we're taking care of myself, taking care of this little one. And Zach and I just trying to navigate this, how to put on diapers, how to, getting her dressed, taking pictures of her, and feeding her and making sure she's okay and taking care of her. It was just, there was so much. And then him taking care of me and him having to help me put on underwear. It's just, guys, it is such a whirlwind. And I feel like those 48 hours went by so fast, so freaking fast. And then we ended up getting discharged from the hospital on the 26th. So we were only there for literally 2 days. And then they discharged us and we got to go home. And lucky for us, our family did get to travel down and meet her. Our stay-at-home orders, they kind of came in place while all this was going on. And we just were able to sit here as a family. Our immediate family was able to meet our daughter. And our lives have never been the same since. It's just been such an incredible 13 days as I record this. And I am going through all of the motions, and I have so many podcast ideas in the future of like how I'm navigating this. Obviously, like I told you before, the postpartum life, dealing with running a business while being a mom, dealing with time alone, actually sitting here at this very second, taking 30 minutes away from the baby to do this for you guys. I'm still trying to navigate what this new normal looks like for me. I'm still trying to navigate what my life is going to be from here on out and how to be the best mom, the best, CEO, the best wife possible. And, I'm going to have tons of different stuff that I'll be talking about in regard to all this in the next couple of months. But I think the biggest thing that I've learned is to truly be present in these moments that are given to you, because nothing matters to me more than her right now. Her and my husband, obviously. Just being present where my feet are and realizing that, I prayed so hard for this, and I'm literally sitting in her nursery that she actually gets to be in now, and I'm changing diapers, I'm sleep deprived, and I'm still recovering 13 days later. I have stitches that are, healing, and I'm not going to be cleared to resume normal activities for another 4 weeks. And I'm just sitting here and I have so much going on, but I just can't stop thinking about that day and just how just in a second, the sound of a little cry completely transforms your entire life. And I just want to end this by saying that if you're going through what I went through and you are struggling with fertility issues, or you're waiting for your miracle, or you're pregnant right now, please don't ever hesitate to reach out and talk to me about it. I know that there's so many people are telling you all these different things in regard to birth and to regards to how to be the best mom ever and how to get pregnant and all this different stuff. But at the end of the day, moms, what's best for your babies. Two, those of you going through fertility stuff, keep the faith. It's easier said than done, but keep the faith, keep praying, keep leaning in on God, and trust in the process, and trust that you're doing everything you can. If you're actively trying every single day to become a mama, then you will become a mama. Maybe not in the way that you want to, and I know that's super discouraging, but I never thought that I would be the mom to an IUI baby. I never in a million years thought I would be. And it happened. It happened this way for a reason. And so that way I could reach more people that are going through it. And because I honestly believe that God made me have to go through all of that stuff in order to be where I'm at right now. And I'm talking like the most grateful that I've ever been in my entire life. So I think that sometimes we have to go through these trials. We have to go through hard in order to be more appreciative of what we have. And I kind of feel that way about this coronavirus crap. I feel that way about all of this. Like, I am so grateful for the life that I get to live right now. I'm so grateful for how everything turned out. Every stage of this journey, I'm grateful for all of it, as hard as it was, because it got me here. So keep the faith, lean in on people that understand what you're going through. Us moms don't need to judge each other. We need to be there for each other. Whether you're delivering vaginally, whether it's a C-section, whether you breastfeed, whether you formula feed, whatever it is, we need to be there for each other. And guys, I appreciate you listening to all 30 minutes of this. It's just, I can't speak about it enough. I appreciate you listening to me through my tears. This has been the most incredible 2 weeks of my life. And I'm so happy. I'm just grateful for all of you that kind of followed along with me on this journey. It's truly amazing. All right, guys. Until next week, control freaks. Talk to you soon.